Welcome to Q&A. I hope you're doing fine, cause it's Q&A time again. Hello world, how you doing? Hope you guys are all doing great. If not, as always, I hope it gets better for you. Let me get this situated. Man, it has been a mission getting on this Friday night live stream for you. I do not know why YouTube just wants, it's trying to orient lock the other way to hold the phone, because I guess a lot of people are on mobile now and they hold it like that. And plus the internet didn't work. But anyways, we're here, and the whole purpose of being here is to offer myself and the awesome help of our awesome community to help you with your fish keeping needs. Because sometimes, like, there's many things that can happen in this hobby that we can question and just may not understand yet, and there are so many people here who do it in so many ways that we can all get together and share our knowledge and try to help one another. So I try to be here every Friday for you guys for this and make this happen. So thank you all for joining me. Let me go ahead and get into live chat here. See all kinds of awesome people. Hello, hello, hello. Great to see all these awesome names in here. And glad to see you all in here. Good day, mate. Says, what are you drinking tonight? I am on the big old jug of moonshine. So I think I'll just hammer this thing tonight and see what happens. All right, let's see. Just kidding, that's water. If that was moonshine, I definitely would not be drinking it like that. All right, scroll. Hello, hello, hello. Chris, the Mad Aquarius Biggs, can you adopt me? Do you adopt odd Canadians? I don't know the legalities in that, but we could probably figure something out for you. All right. Mikey's Fish Tank says, Lucas, I'm a sinner. I'm watching you while changing my water in the ones that want it. LOL. There is nothing wrong with changing your water. The big reason why I say, like, certain tanks you don't have to change water doesn't mean you should or shouldn't. Like, it's always good to give your tank a little freshy fresh. Just be careful overdoing it. Let's see. Scrolling. Nathan Hovey says, do you think jellyfish ever get mad there isn't any peanut butter fish? Oh, God, that's pretty good. There needs to be a peanut butter fish for the jellyfish. I'm surprised that doesn't exist, but that doesn't. Oh, insert vertical video PSA here. See, I wonder how you guys do feel about that. And I feel like that just creates division, because it's like, oh, some people like it this way. Some people like it long format. Then you get stuck in the middle of, dang if you do, dang if you don't. Let's see. Richard Reynolds says, how are the fry doing? All the fry around the fish room are all doing all right. They're doing pretty good. The weather's been warm. They've been liking that. Haven't been running any air. Just letting nature come in, opening in the doors. I got a bunch of those Glossolepis maculosus, like almost 20 of them out to Marcel, which was awesome. To finally get that stress off me and have those all shipped out. And I got more barb fries that just keep coming about, which reminds me, I did update. I don't usually say it, but I did update the website. I do every Friday, and I do have some of those Mascara Barbs on there for those who've been looking for them. And Fish Face member for 36 months, gold member. Thank you all for being members. Gold Fate or Fish Face for your awesome support for a long time. All you guys who order all that stuff, thank you all for your support. Andy70 VW Bus says, will Praecox rainbows breed in dense clump of guppy grass, or do they need a spawning mop? So guppy grass is essentially like your spawning mop. So it's, I mean, works the same. And it's actually better, in my opinion, than a spawning mop. In my opinion, I used to do the whole spawning mop thing. It is easy to, like, pull them out and gather the eggs that way from it. Like, say if you don't want to play musical fish, you want to just gather the eggs. That's a good way to do it, is with a spawning mop. But In my opinion, it's just kind of an eyesore. I'd rather see something natural. Gary Steen. That's funny. He says, how is the rack addiction? Says, I don't know if that's Steiner Steen, so excuse me, but the rack addiction. That's pretty good. I like that. It's not even a tank addiction anymore. I feel like, yeah, it's a rack addiction. I don't know how many racks we're at. I think we're well over 20, or at least got to be close to 20 racks. I just got 2 more done to hold my 40s. Still cleaning the little goop and stuff, these tanks too, and trying to manage all that. I had cut my legs, or well, I didn't cut them, but I had grabbed some 9-footers instead of 10-footers, which really kind of screwed me off my timing of my rack building, but we're getting there. Elena Minetta says, have you ever moved houses with a shrimp tank? I'm trying to figure out if I should drain 75% of the tank and leave them in, or try to get as many as I can out. The babies hide in all the substrates. So I have multiple times. It depends on how big your tank is, how heavy it is, the risk you want to take with it. I personally never tried to catch them all. I always lowered the water level real low. Make sure I kept the plants damp. You could do that by adding some saran wrap on the top of it. That way it keeps the humidity in there. Plus it helps with sploshing. Be real careful if you drive not to get that sploshing around. If you're going to move with the tank and you feel like you can carry it, once again, move slowly, steadily. Do not hurt yourself doing that. It's dangerous. So a lot of people just medically would recommend you putting them in a bucket and catching them. But, I mean, you can do it where you keep them all in there. I've done it many times. It's not too bad. And with the shrimp, see, what will happen is that water will get mulmy, it'll get dirty, it'll get really mucky looking, but those shrimp do not care. Those shrimp will actually be in there eating the best that they've eaten in a long time, because they will be eating all the stuff that's been living in that substrate for a long time. So it won't hurt them. But Christopher Secker, racks on racks, you know it. And I am at the bottom of the chat, so if you got a question, that's where I'm at. And let's see, as far as members video, that will be hopefully coming out tomorrow. I've still got to put it together. I've got a bunch of clips for you guys. And members did mention that they will be sharing the videos with you. Now, members will always have the members cut. So it'll be kind of like a different cut. I have all the edited videos, so I'll kind of release them differently. So the members will always get something extra. Plus, there's probably some videos that the members that I will make for them that I probably just won't release to the public. One, due to timing. Another, due to probably context and what I share, because, I mean, I share pretty much everything with you guys. But I don't know. There's only so much content I could push on YouTube, because YouTube kind of caps me on what it will push to show you guys, which is really weird, and I wish they wouldn't do that to me. So if I'm really trying to get a message out to, say, newer fish keepers or something, that's not going to be as directed as a video would be to members who are more hardcore into it. So it all varies on the content of the videos. But members, you guys will always have my heart and my thanks, because you guys really do support. Even all you guys watching, hitting the thumbs up button, all you guys, I appreciate all y'all. So don't get me wrong, but I mean, they really do support me, so I feel like I got to give them a little something special. And thank you all for the support. Hostile Valley Aquatic says, any idea when you might have any blue Glarus available? So I wish I could breed blue Glarus on mass scale. I personally am not the guy for it right now, just because of my position, what I do, all the things I've got to teach, and all the people I try to help, and just, it's hard for me to spend that time into just breeding blue Glarus, because it is kind of a labor of love to breed, and I'm working on so many fish. The most recent fish I was working on, I was literally the only person in the United States with them. I don't know if they were in Europe, and I know I've mentioned this a lot, but that's a lot of pressure to having to breed something. So that's kind of hard to like maintain breeding certain fish. But saying that, if anybody can get a hold of blue Glarus, matter of fact, I was talking to Joey King of DIY, and if there was one fish that I could get him to promote, it would be that fish, the blue Glarus. And the thing about killifish and what people don't realize is they're not too far off of a betta. A lot of people will be like, well, killifish don't live that long. But you get into like funnel pan checks, especially like the blue Glarus. I've seen them things live like 5, 6, 7 years. Now that's top end. Sometimes it's only a few years, but it's at least a few years. And considering compared to bettas and stuff, they're not too far off. They're both jumpy fish. They're real personable. They will swim in your hand. You can pet them like a dog. You can train them to eat out of your hand. They're really cool fish. And they just do not have enough recognition. And the fact that it's so hard to get them is scary. It's really scary. And I know a lot of the people who breed killifish, these are older people. They're not getting any younger. And with all the health things going on in the world right now, and just it's scary. So you never know when those breeders or when these fish will actually be continued on. So I feel as one of my biggest jobs is to try to promote people to breed those sorts of fish like blue Glarus. Big time. And they're not the only one, especially in the killifish department. I believe the killifish from Brazil you can't even get anymore. Um, Mining is destroying a lot of their habitats. And there's so many varieties of them, and they're really not that hard to keep. They're not that hard to breed. If you guys want to learn more information about them, I've got a amazing video that I did with Jack Heller on his fish room tour. So if you go on to YouTube search Jack Heller Killifish LRB, you will get the best killifish video that will really introduce you into those fish, how easy it is to keep them, how to breed them, all the different types. It's a really, really well done video. And it's got some neat stuff in it, so check that out. But yes, if I could push any fish, it would be the blue Glarus. Granted, I'm not breeding them. I'm not keeping them. I don't have the time to do it. But I hope that a million people come across it and start breeding some, because I would like to see them a lot more common than what they are. Tyler Fuston, thank you so much for the awesome $10 super chat and the continued support. I hope you're doing well, brother. Says, hit that like button. You're the best, LRB. Well, thank you, bro. You're pretty awesome yourself. Adam Triska says, do you like the bluefin killifish? Haven't been able to get them to spawn yet. So I love the bluefin killifish. It was actually one of my first community breeding fish that they actually community bred for me. So if you get them in a thick enough planted aquarium and enough of them where you got males and females, they can't actually community breed in there because they're really, you just got to feed them well. But they're not real tricky to breed. They don't really need hard or soft water as long as you're in the mid 70s. The biggest thing is getting the eggs, and why community breeding usually is the way to go about them is, and or you could use like a rock substrate where the eggs can fall through, because they do kind of trickle out their eggs and they're really hard to see and find. But I absolutely love bluefin killifish. Let's see. Henry Figaro, thank you so much for the $5 super chat. Thank you for all the help with my order. All the fish arrived well and healthy. Well, so glad I could get them to you. Dude, I am so glad I could get them to you. And I don't know what you're going to do with all those barbs, but if you're going to, are you going to put them in one tank? I can imagine that would just be amazing. He's got a ton of them barbs. Whatever he's going to do with them, it's got to look cool. But thank you for your support, Henry. I really appreciate that. Joe MTL says, what do you use to disinfect your aquarium stuff? I use Javel water, but I noticed that a lot of products have fiber guard or fabric protector on the bottom. Is this safe for aquarium use? Dude, I just use water. I used to use like steaming hot water. Now I just hose it off with my well water, like garden hose anymore. Like I don't disinfect. It's all nature. Like I don't understand why we feel the need to disinfect nature so much. It's kind of crazy, to be honest. And if you're quarantining, it shouldn't be a problem. There is one thing I will do though, because I do have certain nets for certain areas and tanks. Like I got a net for this area and net for that tank. Partially is that I don't want my red shrimp getting in with my blue shrimp. That happens. That's bad news. That really screws me. Luckily I got backup things, but yeah, I just use my well water. And my well water really isn't that great. Let's see. Gary Stein says, if heating a whole room, racking, breeding, I want to keep larger fish lower and smaller fish higher for temp to promote growth. Yes. You kind of touched on this other week's Q&A. Cheers. So when it comes to heat and growth, it's more about the metabolism. So when the heat is higher, the metabolism goes faster. It's kind of like you see it out in nature, like down here in Florida, North Carolina, warmer areas. You know, stuff grows like crazy as long as there's water. If there's no water, it doesn't grow as well. But same with, I mean, I think it works for pretty much everything because the metabolism is working faster than as if in cooler. And that's really the gist of that. It's not too wordy. Chase Martin, can mono shrimp go with cherry shrimp and snails? It can be iffy in a battle sometimes. Those monos are big and they will eat up the cherry shrimp babies. Maybe not get to the adults as much, but there is potential for that. But they'll definitely go after the babies. The snails, not really a problem. Imperial Tropics have them. I think they showed so many killies. Yeah, the bluefin killies are native down here. Well, you can get into the waters and just see big clouds of bluefin killies. It's really cool. I don't get into that. I don't like go get stuff out of the wild to put it in the market. And I'm not saying Imperial Tropicals is. They've got ponds and stuff. They could be breeding them all out themselves. I don't know what they're doing over there, but they're doing a lot. Yeah, I don't personally do that. Christopher Secker says, did you hear about what is happening in Florida with the wildlife ban? This is not good. So yeah, they're trying to whitelist stuff again, just like they did last year. I think we went through the same crap last year. And really, these people don't understand what conservation is. Like, even if you whitelist all those fish, there's got to be some way to still conserve these fish. Because if we don't have aquarium keepers keeping a lot of these fish, I mean, look at your turquoise rainbow, for one. If that fish was not kept into the hobby and industry, that fish would be gone. It would be gone. But that's not the only one. There's a ton of them. So we need people keeping fish that aren't just whitelisted. It'd be insanity. And I see like why the issue is down in South Florida. But if Florida really thinks about it, especially Florida wildlife conservation, like they already lost the war on that for the most part. Like those fish, there are so many fish already introduced there. They need to embrace it and be like, come on down, come catch the wildest fish you ever did. I mean, their whole thing is tourism. And I don't know how many people that just love to go down there and go fish for those fish, because it's not the same old bluegill and bass you catch up north. No, you're catching like gold Midas cichlids and flower horns and all kinds of crazy stuff. And even if you wanted to go hop in and go catch some tetras somewhere, like you could do that. And like it's already happened. So I don't know what they think they're gonna fix by doing anything else differently. Like once that's out there, it's out there. It's kind of like the fire ants, you know? Maybe they should have started with that a long time ago. There's one thing Florida could do without. Jeez. But yeah, I did see that. I actually got an email about it. Oh, and sorry if I'm missing anybody's questions. Doing my best here to go back and try to get to them all. I think I'm doing a fairly good job. CC says my 20-gallon is dirty even after I poured 2 bottles of Dawn dish soap on there. Any ideas how to clean it? I hope you're kidding. God, hope to God you're kidding. That can't be real. Outside in Aquatics says, I am trying to become a well-rounded breeder. What would you recommend to breed? I have bred CPDs, working on Apistos, and have a few guppy lines. So work on what interests you. As long as it interests you, you will have the motivation, desire to breed it. If you go in trying to breed things that are like, oh, what can I get the best market value on? Or what is this? Like, it's good to have like that curiosity, I guess. But at the same time, if you're not doing what you want to do, it makes it just that much more tougher. But if you're like excited about what you're doing, you're going to get out of bed and you're going to want to do it. And I think that's really the key to success on that. Liquid Zoo. Oh, he's replying somewhere else. Tyler Fuston says, could I grow Big Blue Dream Colony with 3 big Amanos and a 20 long? I don't know personally, because like with aquariums heavily planted too, like there's possibilities for pretty much everything. I think it would be harder to build that colony with the 3 big Amanos in there, but I don't think it's impossible, especially if heavily planted. I think shrimp are especially smart enough not to be predated on as much. And if they do have nooks and crannies to go to and get away from those Amanos, then it won't be a big issue. Then they can get big enough. And as long as you're feeding well enough, those Amanos have a vivacious appetite. Keep that in mind. Those things just love to eat. If you get some sort of like mineral rock too that they could actually graze on, and that's just like a constant food source for them that is natural, then that will help with predation as well. So it is possible. But if something bad happens, don't blame me for it. Put it that way. Nathan Hovey says, Richard, how's the Emerald Raspberries doing for you? So he's talking to Richard. That's good. I always love seeing that. You guys are, I see so many of you guys talking to each other. And that's what's great about these live streams. Like, if I can't get to your question, or like many people have just bonded and create friendships on here, it's awesome. Zalot says, what you think it can go with Brazilian Earth Eaters? Thanks. What do you think can go with Brazilian Earth Eaters? So the like Geophagus types, absolutely love Geophagus. I would keep more of them if I had more of a filtered aquarium. Maybe one day I'll get them again. Actually, I had the Winter Millerite, which were absolutely beautiful. They're like the oldest videos I got, but if you type in LRB Geophagus Winter Millerite, the colors, oh my God, and the setup on that tank, oh my God. But those things bred out, I ended up breeding them out. You could keep pretty much dang near anything with them. Rainbow fish, danios, tetras, whatever, pretty much with those. They're pretty peaceful fish. And they just like to move substrate around and really mind to themselves. They don't care so much about other fish as long as the fish aren't too aggressive. But even then, they can still hold their own pretty well. Let's see here. Scroll. Oh, Daniel McNamara, thank you so much for the $10 super chat. It says, thank you so much for taking the time last weekend to help me troubleshoot health issues with my fire mouth. So helpful to have advice and sounding board when you feel like you've tried everything. No doubt, no doubt. And I think that's what's awesome about social media, and what we really should be using social media for is by trying to help each other with these sorts of platforms to get information to help each other. But thank you so much for the support. I really, really appreciate it, and happy to help you, brother. Scroll, and I'm definitely probably gonna miss some questions here because this chat is moving. Coral Works says mineral rock for the shrimp to graze on. What would be a good example? So a good example of coral rock, like here, I could go grab it out of my yard here. Let's see, Argonite, any cichlid mix kind of substrate. There is certain places that make like actual mineral rock. If you type in mineral rock, any calcium type rocks, I don't know if you have rocks in your driveway, anything like that, as long as there's no oils or lubes on the area of where you get your rock. But a lot of those rocks that are white and you can like scratch surfaces and like draw your name with like it's chalk, that's got calcium and stuff that those shrimp would eat off of. The sandstones will be like more brown and tan. But you can naturally go find them and pick them, or you could go buy some. Crushed coral's good too. Maybe a little bit of crushed coral in there. Just sprinkle it in there for them. I actually used the yard dirt in with my mono shrimp one time, and it's more clay based. This was when I lived in Indiana, and it was just like really, really like dirty clay based, iron rich dirt. And those shrimp literally took that substrate. They went underneath the Eco Complete and turned all that substrate in and out. Like they found something in that substrate that they just loved. All that substrate, like, because I had it capped with the Eco Complete. All the stuff underneath the Eco Complete was now on top of the Eco Complete because it is, I don't know, there was something in there they love. I'm thinking it was the clay. I'm not 100% sure, but it was pretty wild to see. And Carol Cox, member for 32 months, gold member, says, would mascara barbs do okay in tubs, and would they predate on rice fish? So I don't think they'll predate on the rice fish. They're not really like vicious fish eaters or anything. They're really peaceful and just kind of mind to themselves. The only thing that I would worry about is having a lid, because mascara barbs can jump. I tried putting them out in my pond when I first got them, like years ago, like 7 years ago. And I had put denison barbs in there. I don't know if it was the denison barbs that drove the mascara barbs out, but like something had drove a bunch of them fish out, and it was not good. So after that, I've been keeping a lid on them forevermore. So just be careful with it. Let's see. Scroll. Lucas. Hello, Lucas. My flower horn has white stringy poop and isn't eaten like normally does. Do you recommend dog dewormer? Yes. The Pancure C dog dewormer can help you. The fenbendazole peas as well. But if he's not really eating, the peas probably won't help. But if he does start eating again, try feeding him on some peas. That'll help get him some natural greens in, help move things around, and as well as that dog dewormer. But you can treat it just within the water column, and sometimes people will soak their food in it. Or you just get a syringe and just shoot it down its throat. If you want to do that, it's all up to you. Flower horn, it's kind of easier to do that because you can't just pick them up and then just give them a nice dose of that dewormer. Let's see. JTR Jesse says, how do I get my Boyles Beach driftwood to sink? So the driftwood to sink definitely can take some time soaking. I usually just pin it down with some rocks. If worse comes to worse, you could always drill either. It's not hard to drill a hole through a piece of ceramic tile and or a rock. It's actually easier than what a lot of people would think. You could just drill a hole right through it and then screw that down as a bottom platform that would weigh it down. You can bury it underneath the substrate, and then eventually over time it won't be as buoyant, but it won't matter because it's already in position. You don't have to wait and all that stuff. Let's see. And I think I'm going to go ahead and get to the bottom here. Oh, hold on. Patty's Aquatic says, what can cause a few guppies in a tank to start looking labored and some with bent backs? Water parameters are all good. Not sure if I need to get more to add in. Never had issues with it till recently. So, I don't know how soft your water is. Sometimes if they're not getting enough mineralization, that can kind of be a sign from that. So that could be one direction to look if they don't have enough hardness and mineralization in. And or it could just be from bad genetics. Yeah, if water parameters are all good, I don't know. If they're looking labored too, I don't know why they would look labored and with bent backs. Besides, yeah, I don't know what the genetics are. I'd have to see the tank for all that. But usually that comes from science of genetics. Scroll, 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 scroll. I know that doesn't really seem like that helps much, but Ear first says, any thoughts on removing an aquarium rim? So I have seen videos of it done. I've never personally done it, but it's just siliconed on there. So you can get like a heat gun, heat warm the edge of this trim up, and then you get a scraper. Then you just scrape up underneath it when it's nice and warm, and just kind of work your way around it, and you can peel the black rims right off of it. I personally, myself, like the black rims, and I'll tell you why, and why I don't really care that much for rimless. I have had rimless tanks, and you know, they are kind of neat, but you'll always see the water line. That water line will never disappear. It will always be there. And if you got hard water that, well, you know, evaporation happens, that's going to eventually just build up a bunch of hard water across it, and it creates so much more maintenance. And then two, the fish, depending on the fish and how high you have the water, fish get really anxious when you go to feed them. So, oh, I wish I could get up. I don't want to get up because I'll probably ruin the whole internet. One day we'll fix this where I can actually give you visual examples. But if I were to go up to this guppy tank and act like I was going to feed them, they're all going to hop up at that edge there and they'll slip out. They'll jump themselves straight out of there if that water is high enough. Snails will also climb themselves right out of a rimless. So, I don't know. I don't really mess with rimless too much. But you can pull those off. Carla M says, how old are they? How old are... What? Scroll, scroll, scroll. Oh, well. Not seeing any questions. Heat gun and a razor, maybe? Yes, yes, yes. All right, JTR Jesse says, just one long fin glowfish. Fins are turning neon green. Do you know what and why that can be? So you've got a glowfish fin that's turning neon green. Probably because it's a glowfish fish. Who knows? Those things are injected with those genes that are supposed to glow green and whatnot and all kinds of other stuff. They're mutant fish. But, I mean, to each their own. What internet provider are you using for Royal Florida? Right now, I've got to use Verizon. I've got to use off my data. We don't have actual, like, lined out hard line down here yet. But they've been working on a project, and hopefully I'll get done sooner than later. If I could get a hard line in here, that would be awesome. Flood City Fish Keeper says, picked up a bag of small crystal red shrimp at the local club auction. Any tips to keep them happy and healthy? Water here is low pH and super soft, so that's a good start. They do like around 150, 180 TDS, more on the soft side. They prefer GH over KH. Keep them fed, give them a nice mature setup, and just feed them, give them time. They don't breed as fast as Neocardinas. They can take more time to get going. But once they do, It's really neat. And they're not as tricky as some people make them out to be. Especially if you're getting them from like a club auction, those shrimp are going to be probably easier to keep than any Caradinia ones that you would get from like a regular retailer online or something. Carol Cox, thank you so much for the $10 super chat. It says, how are the Shiner Fry doing? So I actually ended up having one Shiner just going total rogue, and he like murdered everybody pretty much. So I'm down to one Shiner. And I think a frog ate my 2 Shiner Fry. I get frogs in here very often. They went MIA one day, no sign of bodies, no nothing. But, Carol, I have been talking with a good friend of mine that had gave me those self-in shiners. And I should be getting some more of those here at the next club meeting. So I will have you covered. You won't have to worry about the self-in shiners growing up, taking all that time. I know you've been really wanting them, and I will get some to you. Let's see. But thank you so much for the support. Chris Resecker says, Lucas, have you ever had a female guppy give birth and then get a really bent spine? Yeah, that happens sometimes. It can definitely happen. I've seen rainbow fish where they get older and bent spines too because they like to like battle each other with their, same thing with killifish. I've seen them bend their spines due to like battling and just doing their normal fish stuff. But the thing is, they don't think about their old age, and when it happens to them, they end up pushing themselves too far, and well, we know how that old chestnut cracks. Sean says, do you think new blood needs to be added to guppies after breeding a line for a few years? That is a tough question, and it's a bit tricky because when it comes to adding new guppy lines with other new guppy lines, one, you better hope that they are just as good as what you're working with. Two, is sometimes it can start battles because the males and the females, and I've seen them battle against each other because they could even be the same type. They could even been from the same strain from years ago. But then when you add them together, they do kind of become territorial against each other. And that can cause some problems. But at the same time, I think it is better to keep that gene pool deeper, especially with certain lines. And that's why you see a lot of guppy lines come and go, because people will just kind of just breed them out, but then they don't work on diverting back to trying to keep that line of guppies deepened in the long run. So a lot of people see fish and fish breeding sometimes as a short term. It really, with this hobby, everything in this hobby is a marathon and not a sprint. Everything. And it comes to like the genetics of the fish, the way we keep our fish. Like, people shouldn't go buy a fish tank and think, oh, I'm going to do this for a week or I'm going to do this for a month. Like, no, that fish tank's going to be with you. But once you get the fish tank, you want the fish tank to be with you. Fish Face, gifting 5 memberships. Thank you so much. I can't see who gets the memberships, but welcome all you members, and thank you so much, Fish Face, for bringing them into the membership. I really appreciate that. Thankfully to the Lady LRB, she texts me whenever that happens, because for some reason, YouTube doesn't want to let me know. But Chris Strapp says, Lucas, what's the oldest killifish you've seen? One of the killies you sent me is 3 years old and going strong. So the oldest one I've seen, I still have. And this thing, I don't even, it's got to at least be 7 to 8 years old. Like, I don't know how old this thing is, but it's ridiculous. I swear I've seen this fish die like at least 5 times, to where he was like completely white. He was doing the spins. He's done the spins. He's had like the old geriatric back look and everything, but he is still kicking in here somewhere. I'm looking up top for him, but it's a Epilotes lamontii, and I think I see him. I can't tell if that's him or a half-beak, but he is still kicking. And I can't believe how old he is. He was the one that was in my Fishocracy series that was with my hill trouts and my Mascara Barbs at my old house. If you guys remember that series. That was a long time ago, but he is still kicking. He was one of the kings of that tank. And with that Fishocracy series, you guys can look at it as LRB Fishocracy if you search it out. But what it was I had this really nice movie camera, so I could be like from way back in my fish room, because you all know how like you go up to a fish tank, they all start begging for food, you don't get the same behavior, but I could get the behaviors caught with this movie camera from way afar. And there's 2 killifish, a massive school of mascara barbs, and a big school of hill trouts. And they're these borrelias. They're like pretty big fish. But there's a golden wonder killifish and that Epilotes lamontii. And there was a clan, like the Epilotes lamontii had a clan of hill trouts, and the golden wonder had like a clan of mascara barbs. And there would be like tiffs and battles and hierarchies and all kinds of stuff that you would just see play out in the aquarium. So I would just kind of like narrate it and show it and discuss the behaviors and stuff about what was going on in that really wild community type aquarium. And just to see how those killifish ran that tank with all those big fish, it was really wild sight. It was really, really wild. Let's see. Scrolling McScrollerson. Looking for those questions. Let's see. No. Is Flora illegal? I think it is illegal in some states. Not 100% sure though. Tubbing question number 2. Are cinder blocks safe to use in outdoor tubs with rice fish? So rinse them off real well. Should be alright. Once you give them a nice rinse and soak first and let them dry out, and then you can use them. I mean, it'd probably be alright to plunk and dump, but it's always better safe than sorry. And rice fish have got to be some of the toughest fish. Plant ban in Wisconsin? On aquatic plants or something? Scroll. Steve Humphrey says, what day are you speaking in Charlotte? So, I believe it's Sunday. Sunday is what I'm speaking. Which I'm excited about that. I haven't been to an event for so long. It's going to be a good time. Actually, probably spend a lot of this month focusing on probably redoing a bit of that talk, and I don't know, I'm still debating whether I should set up a booth or not. It's so much work to do so, and not always able. These rainbow fish have really got my attention over here. I'm going to try to see if I can move this over to show you guys. We're 45 minutes in. If the internet kicks off, then whatever. Hey, don't get scared now, you little babies. You little babies, and then look at the inverted tetras over there. What's up, my guys? The lights came off. They're all looking at me like food. Trying to get some of these upper tour rainbows. I seen somebody else have them, but I'm like, those ain't real upper tours. I didn't want to break his heart, but they don't look like mine. Oh, I'm so excited for this next week coming up, though, guys. I should be getting all kinds of fish. Some rainbow fish for all these Glossolepis maculosus that I trade off for. I'll be getting some crazy cool rainbow fish that I can't wait to share with you all. So I'll be making a video of that here soon. All right, I am at the bottom of the chat. If you got a question, that's where I was at. I'm not seeing any. I don't know how that did, or the internet kicked me off. Jeff, you're in Wisconsin too. What plants did they ban? Yeah, that's interesting. I know in like Indiana, there was a few that you couldn't have. Like, what is the one? I think Flora. Is that hygrophila that's like the really cool looking one that's a native that has tons of color? What's your favorite moss? My favorite moss is any moss that doesn't hold algae. No, just kidding. Pilo moss has probably got to be one of my favorite mosses, and it's mostly due to the fact that you could grow that stuff pretty much in the dark, and it likes to kind of grow in darker situations too. And it grows like crazy once you get it growing. Let's see. Chris Straff says, Lucas, do you have any Medeca for sale? I do not at this moment. I've got like hundreds of fry growing out, but since you are a big supporter and stuff, if you hit up Lady LRB, let us know how many you're looking for. I could maybe slide out a few of my like hoarding pile. Because I do breed these fish. I don't just breed them to sell them. I like to hoard them as well. And I usually have stockpiles back. TFI Aquatic says, are you breeding green really neo shrimp? I'm not. No. That's a hard line to even start working on. So right now I'm just trying to get more solid lines instead of project lines. Like I'll teach you all about what I know with shrimp and how to mix and try to create new types of shrimp, but yeah, that goes along with like the killifish part where I've only got so much time in a day to do certain things, and a line like Green Really Lines takes more focus than I have for it right now. LRB easiest moss to grow. That would be the pilo moss as well. That's why, another reason why. Jessica Hussey, blackbeard algae, how to get rid of it, what causes it? So usually organics breaking down in your aquarium, like driftwood and stuff like that. Sometimes it can just come out of the organics from your water source, but that's what it's usually feeding off of those broken down organic materials. And the way to get rid of it, you can use hydrogen peroxide, and it'll change it all kinds of different colors. And when you know it's dying, it will be changing colors. But that's the best way I found to get rid of it, is just hitting it with some hydrogen peroxide. Hey, LRB, any advice on having a fish room in an apartment? Yeah, I've been there, done that. Second floor, everything. Span out your spaces, work along the walls, and you should be good. Like, I never had an issue with it. The people, like, and it all depends, like, how old is your apartment. I don't know who built your apartment, but for standard construction, those floor supports actually support like thousands of pounds per square foot, at least. So you'll be good. I've had 180 gallon boat, like 180 gallon tanks up on 2 second stories and stuff too, with no issue. Rocky and Miles says, I have a pencil fish and bent spine and is thin. The others are all fine. Should I treat the tank? No, I would not. If you want to, you could either take the fish out and hospitalize them, then treat that way, and that should take care of it. If it is an internal parasite that is causing that, to where it's like making it thin, it's just taking over the host body, then that external parasite, when that fish dies, is less likely to go off into another fish. So always good to kind of hospitalize those fish. And then you can play doctor from there, and that way you're not risking the health of everybody else. Amisa Ellerby, I keep checking for your blue Mendeca. Any idea if you'll be letting any go in the next month or so? So Amisa, also remember, if I've got a few more, depending on how many Chris wants, send us an email. I've got a few back. I don't have a whole lot to get back, but I've got so many other babies. Like, even if I got to sell them out, it won't be the end of the world for me. So send us an email on how many you want, and that would be lrbaquatics.orders@gmail.com. And we'll get it worked out for you. But besides that, like in regular perspective, as far as it will be a few months until they're like finalized on the website, if they can make it to the website. Let's see. Wolftoe says, "What's your opinion on freshwater crabs?" I haven't really kept much for them besides the micro Thai crabs, which I thought were really cool when I first got them, but I stuck them in the tank. Dude, I never saw them again. I like maybe saw them like once in like 3 months, and then after that, I was like, well, I don't even know if these things are living or dead, or you just don't know with them. So it was like, like, why did I really buy them? But then there's all of those other like new crabs that they're trying to do. I think most of those crabs, they can handle water, but they don't actually live in water. So be careful on the crab that you're getting. Make sure that it is actually aquatic. I think there's only a few truly fully aquatic crabs to where they don't come out of the water. So be real mindful on the research that you do on the type of crab that you're looking into. I'm growing Merdania. No one seems to have heard of it. I haven't heard of it, and I've heard of a lot of plants. A lot of plants. I don't know what a Merdania is. Well, thank you, Fish Fan Link. I appreciate your appreciation. Yep, second floor, TF Aquatics. I like to live dangerously. I had a 2-bedroom apartment. I turned one of the bedrooms into a fish room. But I didn't have anything over a 40-gallon. It was in my own home that I did the 180-gallon. Now, I want to do a 180-gallon on a second floor of an apartment just due to liability. Like, if something did happen and there was somebody else underneath you, you would be liable for that, and that would not be good. But I didn't have any problems with it. But just not how I would want to test it. TFI Aquatics, any update from your old fish room that was sold along with your house in Indiana, and why did you choose to move to Florida? So there's many reasons why I chose to move, period, and then to Florida. So as far as the old house, I haven't heard much. As far as I know from last time I did here, everything was going good over there, and was planning on doing more with the pond, and he was going to send me some pictures of videos after he gets into doing that stuff. And I do need to give him a call. I've been so busy trying to rack up these tanks these last couple weeks that my focus has just been lasered into it. Then as far as why I decided to move to Florida, so right before COVID hit, which this is kind of crazy. Like, my channel was about to blow up when COVID hit. Like, we were trying to move to the Virgin Islands. We went to St. Croix. We were looking at land there because I saw the weather for the Virgin Islands. And the weather for the Virgin Islands, like, you would be able to keep fish all year round outside. Wouldn't matter where you're at. Like, it was just perfect for fish forever. Granted, it would be really tough to ship from there and everything else. And then the whole COVID thing hit and made me realize that, hey, I wouldn't want to be stuck on an island and have to do that. Like, because there's not a whole lot of resources on an island. You can only go so far. And then we decided after a couple of years that, hey, let's try again. Because that house was never meant to be lived in forever. We bought it on a short sale, so I got it for like super cheap. I was always planning on turning it over because I had already like terraformed the whole backyard. I had worked that house out, and it was where it needed to be. It's where I had it, where I wanted it, where it needed to be. I didn't have much more else besides play around with it there. So the ideal of more land was really attracted to me. Plus, I wanted a space where I could get koi fish indoors. So that's another part of it. And then also have just space for more fish and centralized things and just have more space to play around with and better weather. We looked into I don't know how many different states. We looked at all the southern states. And then I mean it really gets down to it that when it comes to fish keeping, Florida is really where it's at. As far as water wise, especially where I'm at, we're around the spring, like capital of springs. So, Jenny Springs, Blue Springs, Manatee Springs, all the springs, Silver Springs, you name, there's like a bazillion springs down here where I'm at. And the water down here, oh, it's so tasty. And that's good for fish. And then it's just the weather. I was so tired of winter. That's actually one of the biggest ones I forget is the winter. And it's actually good that I kind of forgot that because winter depression hit me every year really hard. Really hard. I hate winter. If Old Man Winter was real, I'd kick him straight in the balls and I would laugh. I would find that funny. Sorry, not to be so aggressive and mean, but I do not like the cold. I used to work construction. I worked construction outside for like 12 years. We would cook ourselves, which I didn't mind so much, but freezing, oh my God. We'd be in some stupid weather, just freezing ourselves off after coming out of a 100-degree house. So, yeah, I got tired of winter. And now that I can just like keep moving all year round, like this is where I belong. I always felt like I just was not in my environment, and this feels more like my environment. All right, anyways, enough about that. Let's see. Scroll. Sorry if I'm messing anybody's question. It says, Coro Works says, do you buy fish from hobbyists to bolster your bloodlines or anything? My El Tigre endlers just had more fry. I know you carry that pure line endlers as well. So I did get my El Tigres from, I think, the Tampa Bay Club, but then I also got some El Tigres from the Pasco County. Now, I don't know if they're the same club, but if anytime possible, I do try to mix bloodlines down the road. Same thing with my rainbow fish, not just any guppies, with any fish. Like, usually if I'm looking for breeders, I will try to find like maybe a pair from one space or maybe male from one space and female from another space. That way you know you're already starting off with a deeper gene pool. But it is important to get, like, all my fish come from hobbyists. That's why I have such a good success rate with my fish, too, is because they do come from hobbyists. It's so hard to buy fish from, like, big box stores and wholesalers because the shit they put, oh, excuse my language. The crap they put their fish through, oh my God. And this is why I don't recommend hitting the meds when you first get fish with everything else, because when that fish goes out from the importer, they done medicated them out to send them out. And more than likely, they're living in medicine juice to get to the wholesaler. Then the wholesaler medicates the crap out of them again. And so their immunity system is just being under attack for so long. And then the fish store gets them, starts attacking their immune system with all the medications and everything else. And then people get them and start attacking their immune system with the medications and everything else. And with fish, keeping their immunity healthy and up is the key to having healthy and successful fish. And when you bombard them with all that medicine, like, freak, I'd puke if I was the fish, if I was constantly in that crap. I don't even know why that rant went on. What was the question? I think that sparked a trigger in me. Had me cussing or anything. But, let's see. Yes, moral of the story, please do not just start attacking your fish with everything underneath the sink if you don't know what's wrong with them. Chris Trapp says, Lucas, is your water from a well or local municipality are you running RO systems and any other filters? So at the old house, it was municipal, and it was terrible. It was terrible. This is another reason why I'm glad I'm where I'm at. I don't have to worry about the water company throwing chemicals down my water system and not telling me, because they won't tell you no matter how much you wish that they would notify you. They won't do it. And they don't care how many tanks you have or what the heck you're doing. They don't care. And when you become a fish keeper of really rare fish, and then this is part of where the no water changes thing starts driving in and started becoming towards me. Because when you do have these rare fish and you do a water change and you see it actually destroy your tank, you're like, well, that's not what that was supposed to do. And it really throws you off. And say that happens to a rare fish you can't replace, that's a big problem. So luckily, I do not have the municipality water anymore. I am on well water. And I've got a shallow well here in the barn. I've got a deep well at the house. I wish the deep well was here in the barn, because the deep well is amazing. Oh, the water is so nice. The water that comes out of my shallow well, it has to be pre-treated through an ozone machine, because if not, it would come out looking like yellow iron water. Matter of fact, when I first moved here, I showed some videos of what the water used to look like when I first got here. It was horrible. I was like, oh my God, what is this? Put an ozone machine on it. It was good. But when I had that municipal water, I did get crazy with the filtration systems. I had a 3,000 gallon an hour RO system hooked up to all my fish tanks. So all those fish tanks were plumbed into a water line that I could either run the tap water through, or I could run the RO water through, or I could even blend it, which was awesome. Like I would sit there and switch hard water tanks to soft water tanks. I did my whole fish room like that at some point. So there was so many times that I have seen all the various differences that they say you can't do, and then do them, and then prove it wrong. And it all comes down to having biologically sound environment where the water is biologically sound, so it can actually cycle back into the new fresh water that you add, and just keep it natural. But all right, we're over the hour mark. I think somebody's trying to marry Lady LRB. She better. If you're a girl, that's okay. Guys, sorry. She's mine. Let's see. All right. Scroll. I don't think any. I see somebody is flirting with LRB, Lady LRB. Anyways, I don't mind. I would flirt with her too. But anyways, all right. I hope you guys all have a great weekend. I hope this has helped some of you guys. If you guys have more questions, always feel free to comment them. I will try my best to get to them. I may not get to them right away, but then, yeah, just let me know. I will get to them either way. But have a great weekend. Until next time, everybody. Peace. Have a great one. Thanks for joining. And yeah, it's a mess in here still. That's the side you weren't supposed to see. That's right. Tanks keep going, though. They keep going. Good night, y'all. Good night. Slowly but surely. Oh, I can't wait for that.